Good afternoon, everyone. Transportation and warehousing inventories upward. Semiconductor chip shortage now going to affect agriculture prices up. What's going to happen when the nation's four biggest meat packers are under inquiry for price fixing? Prices up. Spot commodities on a tear upward. U.S. producer prices surging, most on record. The world needs an excuse as the Earth crosses into the new magnetic field forming in the outer solar system that will culminate in 2024 October. Earth cracks and fissures, rifting bridges, Mississippi, critical waterways, grain barges underneath piled up. Prolonged disruption, cracks in the rails in the UK, pipelines down, that's another. How about electrical conduits and highways? That's all predicted to rift and split as we progress through 2024. The shortages need to be explained away somehow. Can't talk about celestial cycles disrupting earthly supply chains. Doesn't fit the narrative. A teen who was behind the $100,000 cryptocurrency scheme has been sentenced to prison. Graham Ivan Clark was 17 at the time he hacked 100 high-profile Twitter accounts and used the funds to scam six figures worth of cryptocurrency from people around the world. Some of the accounts that he was able to hack: Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Apple, Uber. How difficult would it be for a determined hacker to hit other accounts? And by using a virtual private network, it grants you an extra layer of internet protection by allowing you to browse anonymously. You can head over to virtualshield.com, and in the download tab, I'm going to choose Firefox and click install now to add the Virtual Shield add-on. It's just that easy. And get started with your free 30-day trial. Install it, click connect. You'll see the shield turn from red to green, and you'll see how from my initial service provider I was able to even change my IP. Virtual Shield network protected. Get Virtual Shield for 50% off today by going to virtualshield.com/adapt2030 or click on the link in the description box below. And now on with the video. And I had a call with Celeste Solom. She's going to be moving from Cogden, Montana to Bowdoin, North Dakota. And as we're seeing everywhere, difficult to get larger trucks and moving U-Haul vans, etc. She does need some help moving. If you're in that area, you want to connect with Celeste at celestialreport.com and put in the subject line move, and she'll get right back with you. Any help is appreciated, especially with the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of U-Haul trucks. There's a disappearance of a lot of things at the moment, and one of the major questions that news media outlets on the mainstream should be asking is what happens when policymakers withdraw physical and monetary policy support. COVID seems to be easing. All the stimulus money put in to relieve that from 2020 is now going to evaporate. Things are going to have to go back to quote-unquote new. When people have to go back to work, then what happens? We'll see probably a repeat of either the 1960s, 1967, 68 era, or something in 2012. Either way, logistics tangled at the moment, transportation, warehousing, and inventory is way up. And distant early projection, companies are going to need to warehouse a lot more materials because supply chains aren't as reliable in just-in-time delivery. So we're going to step back into the 1970s when there were warehouses in a city and stores carried inventory in the back room. Spot commodities on a tear. Wonder what your food prices are going to do during this time. Oh, soybeans, let me see. Nearly the highest on record. How about ethanol? Gasoline price, finished products. We know where that's heading, up and up. U.S. producer prices, most on record, doubling the expected. And see, when these economists come out and they figure they have the economy wired down to 0.1%, and they've been pretty good at it. But doubling expectations, that's so far off the charts there that the miss was huge. This PPI, they call it shockingly hot. Last year's collapse versus this year's inflation touching into hyperinflation, because when we look at gasoline crack spreads at 117%, that's doubling. Rhodium, not a lot of us are into that, but how about the Baltic Dry? You ever shipped anything? The global shipping index, up 50% almost. Hogs are up, gas is up, ethanol, soybeans, heating oil, Brent crude. And you think the list would stop there, but it doesn't. They got corn and lumber, soybeans, palladium, cattle, oats, and things we eat up and up and up. But I can't believe that the government only puts it 0.2% inflation. I'm shocked. Really, at 0.2%, that's what the running figures are right now in the U.S. 0.2% inflation. Don't worry, your wages don't need to rise. Nothing else is going up. And you have to wonder, with all the excuses being flung around, here's another one to explain away even more meat shortages inbound. And I'm going to say price gouging as an explanation for an excuse why there's less meat is going to be this. Investigations into the nation's 4 biggest meat packers is going to somehow dovetail into they need to be regulated, some of them shut down, and something will happen with the 4 biggest meat packers, and prices will be absurd with some new regulations coming in. Watch for it. Speaking of eyes wide open on this one, farm machines. We need these for agribusiness. So we're talking about not the mom and pop farm, but agribusiness, farming 10,000, 20,000 acres, that Kansas, Oklahoma, all the way up into Canada, breadbasket, feed the world, feed America, feed Canada, that kind of size. The silicon chip shortage is now halting equipment shipments to dealers. And the whole crux of the article is, I don't care how much money you throw at this is not going to solve anything. This shortage is genuine, and they're already forecasting out the ongoing semiconductor shortage is going to last for a couple of years. Okay, now intertwine that with GPS and automated driven farm machinery that's not going to be delivered. What kind of bottleneck is this going to cause in production of grains? Because these worldwide shortage of computer chips, the farm equipment manufacturers are halting shipments to dealers because they don't even have the chips to put in the equipment. Now, we saw Ford Motor Company also halt production. Tesla halted production. How many? 20,000 Tesla sitting on the lots waiting for these same computer chips to be put in. So you knew it was going to go from retail right in the automotive over into machinery, but then this is our food. It's great that farmers integrated high tech with GPS, etc., into the methods to get a higher yield out. Now subtract that. The learning curve going back to the old way it used to be, I bet the old timers will be able to steer those machines without relying on GPS. Sophisticated farming, everybody got lazy. Now what's going to happen when we have to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing it? To be announced. But in my personal opinion here, all of the shortages that you're seeing, all of this distraction out here is nothing more than a giant explanation of terrestrial, man-made events that are affecting our society. Whether the Texas power grid collapse, oh wait, that was from all-time record cold, late blizzard, Colonial Pipeline, the cyber attack there, pipeline down, grid down. The I-40 bridge cracks didn't make much news. Did you hear about this one? Well, it's going to really make for good cookings to pass infrastructure in the future. Not particularly this one, but the next and the next and the next. So what if I were to tell you in 2024 that we're going to get into this planetary alignment here, a square in the outer solar system of Uranus, Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn looping in on themselves, creating a slight second magnetic toroid field in our solar system, in addition to the one with the sun. Overlapping on Earth, this is the configuration of October 2024 when it will be at its most intense. Why would I bring that up? Well, as we move through July, somewhere in July, the last weeks of July, of August, that yellow line is where the Earth will transit into this now forming magnetic field that has not been seen since 79 AD in this planetary configuration. Because an interview I conducted with John Casey when he had just come out with his book Upheaval, he didn't come to the causation of the second magnetic field, but he did come to what is about to happen to our Earth's crust. It's going to start rifting and cracking. And the different infrastructure that you're looking to go down and have very much difficulty moving through these next 5 years would be bridges cracking, railways cracking, motorways, roads, and highways cracking, sliding off, landslides, etc. Pipelines, and that would be natural gas, oil, water, whatever types of pipelines, rifting and cracking, breaking, as well as electrical infrastructure because of high tension lines or underground cable and conduit would also rift and crack. Snap. Those 5 specific parts of infrastructure are going to rift unbelievably through these next 3 and 4 years. And here we are, I-40. Bridge cracks, Memphis. That is a severe crack. That bridge is done. It's not being repaired within this year. The bridge is closed. And what was so interesting is from Memphis to West Memphis over in Arkansas, miles long traffic jams until they rerouted the traffic to where? Other bridges north or south. And what a knock-on effect was are all the barges that were stacking up. In the beginning it was 10, 20, and then it was 300, then it was 400, and then it turned out to be 1,200 total barges that were stuck there waiting for the Coast Guard to clear in case that bridge collapsed. Now, these were mainly grain barges that were affected by this. So now we start to add different elements inside it. So the DeSoto Bridge, authorities came on, and the only reason I even knew about this because living in Tennessee, the TDOT, which is Tennessee Department of Transportation, came out and told everybody here in Tennessee, hey, bridge down in Memphis. Did you hear about this in California? Did you hear about this in Nevada? You probably didn't. They're going to try to really keep it under wraps. This is a major bridge outage. Same time we had the Colonial Pipeline go down. Maybe that was a test run to see what would happen. You know, they took it to a certain level where there's fistfights starting in the gasoline stations, and it only, took 3 days? Now what if it's food? How long will it be before fights start? We saw the grid go down in Texas. But then here is another thing that hit the exact bill that John Casey was talking about, rail disruptions. And the UK has, quote here, urgently set out a comprehensive plan to resolve prolonged disruptions, cracks on the lifting point under the train carriages / going down every rail to look to see if anything fell off and cracked anything else. Huge delays across the UK rail system poised for the moment. Likely going to be a number of weeks. Now what they're trying to say is this auto class here for some reason has developed cracks, or is it a combination of tracks buckling that created the cracks, or is the cracks that had effect on the tracks? Whatever it is, it's really quirky that we got bridges cracking, railways cracking, mud volcanoes going off, lots of landslides, roads being disrupted, cracks across the earth in many different diverse places, oil pipelines going down, and we're seeing our electrical grid get hit at the same. Too many way coincidental events going on here. Explaining away supply disruptions is going to be the name of the game. Supply disruption because of a train going down, a bridge stoppage. Well, most people will accept that. Earth cracks, rifting all of our infrastructure. That's part of a cosmic cycle. Not cool with the narrative. Hard to control the populace with that. And forget the global tax. That's way old school. This is from now. It's a distraction to keep everybody looking left. You might want to think about some storable foods during this time. Adapt 2030 and My Patriot Supply, the 2-week or the 4-week emergency food supply. And if you dive into the site, links in the description box below. My Patriot Supply also has 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year storable food packs. It's a great way to support the channel. And in addition, in the description box below, along with the My Patriot Supply link, every link to tonight's story and image is in there as well. You can do your own information search and see what you come up with as the Rubik's Cube of excuses on 2,000-year cycles in our modern society. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I'll see you next time.